guys, my name is Lauren. I just wanted to come on here and explain a few things that really bother me about able-bodied people, people who do not understand what it's like to have a disability or to have a disease or a chronic illness. So let me start there. My name is Lauren, right? I'm going to come back to that. I was diagnosed recently with UCTD, which is Undifferentiated Connective Tissue Disease. My doctors are leaning more towards it being lupus, but until I meet certain criteria, probably affecting certain organs, they're not going to check those boxes off for me and say you have lupus. But I pretty much check off most of the boxes, so that's why I'm being diagnosed with UCTD. And I will maybe do a different video later explaining a lot of my journey and my symptoms, because I think that was really helpful for me when I heard other people. And hearing like a million different videos is actually really helpful, because you may not identify with all 10 things or even all, 8 things that the person mentions. You may only identify with one of them, and then you're like, but I only have one of those symptoms, so what's the deal? Like, do I even have this? But when you listen to everyone's different symptoms, you can kind of mesh things together and go, oh, that makes sense. Maybe I can take a little bit of each thing. So I hope that my symptoms list and my experience resonates with someone out there, and that it can really help them to ask the correct questions and to really be their own advocate. Because that's really why I want to do this, because it took me 30 years. 30 years. And I'm 34 years old. So when I was 5, I started having symptoms of autoimmunity. All right, let's rest that there. So the first thing I hate, the thing I hate the most, is when people tell you that you don't look sick. And to me, that just shows how ignorant you are, because at the end of the day, if you think that someone's health is based on the way that they appear on the outside, then you have a huge rude awakening about the concept of medicine and anything to do with the physical body. So I know common sense isn't very common, and I say that often to people, but it's true. It's very ignorant when people say, you don't look sick. Shouldn't you look different? Shouldn't you be in bed all the time? Why aren't you in a wheelchair? Well, I can walk a lot of, or most of the time, but during certain flares, I can't walk. Like, I literally lose my ability to walk. Or, let's see, I'm so weak certain days where I'll wake up and I have a ton of energy, and then within 5 hours, all of that energy is gone and my body starts to deteriorate, and I'm like melting in the chair because I'm so fatigued and I can't keep my eyes open. So it just really depends on the day. That's another thing, is that people think that you're supposed to be consistent, like the consistency. Well, it's not consistent. And the same thing is with family. There are people in your families that will not believe you because they think, oh, but it's not really consistent. Every day you're not like that. Well, that's the beauty of the beast. It's not going to be the same every single day, because if it was, then maybe, I'd be on disability by now, or I would be in a wheelchair. Who wants to be in a wheelchair? Thank God it's not fully consistent, right? The next one would be when people think that you're faking because it's not consistent and because you don't look ill. So people assume that you're faking it. They assume that you're making up the symptoms, or that you're just grabbing at straws because you're just trying to figure out what's wrong with you. Or they think, in a sense, because you're faking it, maybe that makes you a little crazy. I mean, there's plenty of crazy people out there, and most of them are wealthy because they know how to manipulate people enough to get all of their money. So I'm pretty sure I'm not that crazy, but definitely not crazy about my illness. I don't think anyone would make up an illness like this, where they're literally unable to walk on certain days, or they're so sick and tired, or their joints hurt when they wake up, or they feel like they have a hangover times 10 in the morning and then throughout the day. I don't think anyone wants to fake that. Who wants to fake a fucking illness? That's a joke to me. So it's really laughable when people think like you're faking it because it's not consistent. Well, I mean, learn about disease, become a doctor, and then tell me how consistent medicine and the human body really is. That's another one. So faking it and telling people you don't look sick, all these kind of tie in together. It's really interesting how they just weave in and out of each other. Another one would be, I'm trying to think. Oh, the worst, I think, is when it comes from doctors. So let's say, or even just family and doctors. Let's say you have a diagnosis that you had 6 years ago. And then they take that diagnosis, and every time you have a new symptom or new complaint, they try to go back to that diagnosis as if it's the only thing that it could possibly be. And so in a sense, that's like gaslighting. That's medical gaslighting. That's just gaslighting in general, kind of putting it back on the person, like, you're crazy, you don't know what you're talking about, you've already been diagnosed with this, why do you continue to seek for more information, and blah, 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 blah. Like, for example, 7 years ago, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, but I even spoke to multiple doctors in this past year who have confirmed that they don't believe I ever had fibromyalgia, and if I did, it would probably be the result of an autoimmune disease. Ding, 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 light bulb moment. I was like, wow, finally someone's listening to me. It's not fibromyalgia, or it's not only that, and there's actually an underlying problem that was the main source of the issue in the first place. So it's when people just don't listen. They hear something and then they speak, and then they're not actually fully hearing you. So that gets really annoying. So it's being fake, lying, you're a liar, you don't look sick. Oh, the worst, and this is, I love my mother to death, but she does this all the time. You need to try this diet. You need to do that. Like, the only one that, I mean, my mom is pretty much right half of the time. I'm just going to give her that much because I love her, and she really is. She really knows what she's talking about. But it does get annoying when people say that all you have to do is change one thing and then you're going to be fine. It's like, okay, well, why don't you just eat pizza for a year and see if you're better? Okay, well, why don't you stop drinking alcohol and then it will go away, I promise. Oh, why don't you just start smoking weed all the time and then you're going to feel great? Yeah, because you're going to be high all the time and you're going to be sitting on the couch having the munchies. So yeah, just people constantly like telling you what you should be doing because you don't already know your body. Come on now. If you know my body more than I do, can you please go upstairs with God and co-sign something to make this go away? Because clearly you know more than we do. So that's annoying. I'm just trying to think of all the annoying things that people say and do. Oh, I remember recently, our neighbor, it was kind of funny. She was sweet and she was being nice. She's harmless, right? But people just don't think of the things that they say. So she was like, oh, you know, I haven't seen you around, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh yeah, well, I have an autoimmune disease. You know, I've been working and I come home. I'm not like somebody that is like frequently going outside all the time and doing things and like being super social. It's really hard to be social when you have an illness like this. But she was like, oh, well, yeah, we haven't seen you guys at all. It's like, I haven't seen you guys in a year. I'm thinking, bitch, I just told you I had an autoimmune disease. And you're just reminding me that I haven't seen you in a year? Yeah. I also remember, and this is funny, I think only people that are chronically ill or know someone that's chronically ill will understand, but I found out from friends in the past that other friends would complain that I would cancel on them at the last minute, or I would say, hey, let's hang out maybe, and then I wouldn't hang out with them, or I wouldn't come, you know, super far away. Especially, this is my thing, if I had to go somewhere super far, if it took me an hour, 30 minutes to an hour to get somewhere, and I didn't feel good at the time, and I wasn't willing to like push myself or sleep somewhere where I was going to be uncomfortable, because when you don't feel good, you don't want to sleep on someone's couch or someone's blow-up bed, right? So I would usually not want to go, and I would probably bail out at the last minute. But it's really hard to explain to someone why, because you look fine to them, right? Oh, you're not sick. And then when you don't have a diagnosis of an autoimmune disease, and even if you do, people still don't really believe you. So I've had that many times where I get, oh, Lauren just, like, she's not consistent. Well, nothing's fucking consistent in my life, so blah. So stuff like that, where people are like, oh, she just ditches me. Well, do you think I would want human interaction more than you? I mean, if you're able to do it all the time and you're able to just hang out with people and freely do whatever the fuck you want, don't you think that the person that just feels like shit half of the time would probably wish they could come, but just what it clearly is bad enough that they chose not to go out? Or they go out and then they leave after an hour or two because it's just, they're really tired. Like what young person is going out and like leaving within a couple of hours unless it's really that bad? So I feel like I implore you to open your mind, people. Be a little bit more compassionate and empathetic. Well, yeah, also empathic too. Read people a little better. Maybe ask questions that are a little kinder. Maybe when someone says, oh, I have an autoimmune disease, ask them, oh, are you okay? You know, how is that? Ask them, you know, if you're their friend, ask them if there's something that you can do for them. They'll probably say no because a lot of people don't want help, but maybe ask, inquire if it's something that you can do. Reach out to them, because it tends to be that most people with a chronic illness will lose so many friends because the friends just don't put the effort. It's not that the person that's sick isn't wanting to put the effort. It's just they just get so exhausted or tired or they're sick that they don't tend to reach out to people to burden them. So if you know that someone is like that, then reach out to them, be a friend. If not, then don't waste their time being their friend and pretending to be a friend and then talking about them behind their back. Just actually be a friend and reach out to them. So that was kind of a short little video of some of the things that irk me about being a chronically ill person with an autoimmune disease, and all these years, especially when you don't have a diagnosis. That's so annoying. When you don't have a diagnosis, that's when people don't believe you the most. When you don't have a doctor that's validating all of your things, you don't have the lab work, you don't have anything to back up everything that you're feeling, that's the most isolating, the most defeating time for someone that's trying to figure out if they have an autoimmune disease or to figure out what chronic illness they have, because people tend to just ignore them, don't believe them, think they're lazy, call them a liar, all types of things, because you can't physically see it. It's all happening on the inside. My body is literally destroying itself from the inside out. So that was my long little diatribe of what not to say, little suggestions of what to do or not to do potentially. If you know someone that is chronically ill, if you know someone that has an invisible illness or an invisible disability. That's my 2 cents, and I will leave it at that. My next video will be more specific about everything that I've had to go through from a young person and then the symptoms over time. And I think putting it in chronological order will actually help whoever is watching this video. Hopefully that video, it will actually help somebody out there. So please share this video, share it to whoever you think it might help. Share it to whoever you think it might make them laugh or identify. I mean, there's probably a million videos just like this, and there's a million videos that are 10 times better than this, but this is just my shit, and that's how it is. So I will see you guys later. Bye.